Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. So today we are going to talk about multiple topics and we are first going to talk about Neymar Jr. So according to ESPN, they said the strategy that can take Neymar out of PSG and return him to Barcelona. Barcelona and their lawyers already know the legal way to try for Neymar's return to Camp Nou, as the Brazilian is finishing his third season at PSG. So they did create a list on what to do in order to get Neymar to FC Barcelona. So I'm going to explain every step as clear as possible so you guys can have a deeper understanding on just how complex it is for Neymar to go to the Camp Nou. So what Neymar must first do is let PSG know within 15 days after the last game that his intentions is to leave PSG. So PSG must know Neymar's intentions that he wants to leave. They have to know that. And we must remember that Neymar is allowed to do this because he will be out of the protection period, meaning that he will break his contract with PSG. So once Neymar has done his part, now it leaves us with 3 ways to negotiate with PSG and to try and get Neymar back to FC Barcelona. So the first one is going to be to simply just negotiate with PSG like every normal transfer negotiation. I don't know if you guys remember last summer PSG was asking for 230 million euros, and then 2 weeks ago PSG has put a bid of 150 million euros for Neymar Jr.'s. So we can go through that simple negotiation just between these two clubs. And then the second one is going to be if PSG and Barcelona do not find an agreement, a set price for Neymar Jr., this will lead to FIFA's governing body come into play and decide Neymar's future. And they themselves will have a set price, a fair price for Neymar Jr. And usually when FIFA does make a fair price for a player, they will have multiple things that will be taken into account in order to get that price for a player. And I have no idea what formula they use to get that price, but I'm assuming that they take into account the injuries, the amount of goals, what was the price that PSG bought him for, how many trophies did he win, how many minutes has he played, has he contributed a lot to PSG, what was the value of Neymar Jr. in the summer of 2017. So it could depend on a lot of things. We don't know what FIFA is going to look at, but FIFA does have a formula in order to get that price for a player. And just to get an idea of what FIFA might price Neymar, recently PSG did set a price for Neymar for 150 million euros, and then back in September we have heard reports and rumors that FIFA already set a price for this player which was around 170 million euros. So we should expect a price between 150 and 170 million euros for Neymar Jr. And once we do get into that stage where his price range is between 150 and 170 million euros, we know and Barcelona knows that we want to get the cheapest deal as possible. So if we could pay 150 million euros, then let's try and do that. And in order to do that, that is when we will need Neymar's help. Neymar will need to go up there and say, I want Barcelona and Barcelona only. So whatever bid Barcelona puts in, let's say 150 million euros, PSG will need to accept that because they know that no other club will want to buy him for more. Because remember, if Neymar does say that he does want to go to Barcelona and Barcelona only, then that is how we will get the cheapest price for Neymar Jr. And let's say that PSG just says, no way, we are not going to accept 150 million euros for Neymar Jr. We want more than that. That is when the third option goes into play. And that is when they take this transfer to the CAS, which stands for Court of Arbitration of Sport. That will be the last option, but I don't think it will go there. I think that it will end with FIFA deciding that final price, especially knowing that PSG does not want to deal with this big headache. We know that in the summer we have tried all summer in 2019 to try and get Neymar, and I believe that PSG does not want to do that again. The difference now going into this summer of 2020 is that Barcelona will have the upper hand because at the end of the day, FIFA's governing body will stand next to Neymar. Now moving on to the next topic of the day, today, and we are going to talk about Felipe Coutinho. According to Fútbol España, Chelsea are favorites to land playmaker Felipe Coutinho next season and have already made an approach. It's said that the most likely structure of the deal would be an upfront loan deal for 1 season with a purchase option linked into the move. And I'm telling you guys right now, when I first read this, I did not believe it at all. Most likely this will not happen, and if I were going to give it a 1 out of 10, 10 being most likely, I would give it a 1 out of 10. And we know that clubs know the situation of Felipe Coutinho. They know that Felipe Coutinho is unsettled. He has no definitive club, and he has been tossed around between 3 different clubs within a span of 2 years. And I'm not saying this because I hate Coutinho, but he does not belong in Barcelona, right? Because there's just no place for this player. Just because you are a star does not mean that you will succeed in FC Barcelona. We have brought in multiple average players to FC Barcelona who ended up becoming stars in FC Barcelona. And even if we do bring Coutinho in, we should not expect Neymar to be brought in to FC Barcelona. I just don't see Coutinho, Martinez, and Neymar coming into the club in one summer. So if we do bring in Coutinho, we should expect Coutinho and Martinez in the summer. Or we should expect Coutinho and Neymar and not bring in Martinez in the summer. And none of those 2 options sound as appealing compared to bringing Neymar and Martinez in the summer. And the other thing that I would like to add is that if we do bring Coutinho in, right, not only are we going to miss either Martinez or Neymar, but having Coutinho in the midfield is going to bring no physicality into the midfield, because we know if he does come in, most likely we are going to have De Jong, Arthur, and Coutinho. And I know that that sounds very appealing on paper, but in real football, once we do have those players on the field, there is no physicality, there's only skill. And when you miss that physicality, you have an imbalance. And having a balanced midfield is very important. You can never have an imbalanced midfield, because look at what happened in 2019 when we were in that semifinal against Liverpool. We had all the physicality in the world, but we had no skill and no creativity, and that cost us. Now, if we bring in Coutinho into the summer, we will have the complete opposite of what we had last year, which means that we would have all the skill, all the creativity, but no physicality. And when we do go up against teams like the Liverpools, the Man Cities, the Juventus, the Atletico Madrids, we will get punked physically. But without Coutinho, now we have a different conversation, because if we bring in Elenia, who is a more physical, more intense type player, then we have a real balance. We have Elenia, Arthur, and De Jong. You have the physicality and you have the skill. Or it cannot be Elenia. It can also be Thomas from Atletico Madrid, who is a very, very physical midfielder. And I highly welcome this player into FC Barcelona. And going back into the topic of loaning out Coutinho again, I believe that it will be idiotic if Barcelona does loan out Coutinho again for the 2nd time in a row, because of 2 reasons. Loaning out Coutinho to a different club will be extremely disrespectful to Coutinho. That means that Barcelona does not even care about Coutinho's future. Coutinho needs to have a definitive club. He needs to stay at a club for a good 2 to 3 seasons. So we can't just keep pushing him to another club and then another club and then to a club in Germany and then to a club in England. That's not how it works. Coutinho is a good player, but not for FC Barcelona. So, and the second reason is that Barcelona is aware that if they do want to bring in Neymar and Martinez in the summer, the selling of Coutinho has to be mandatory. So Coutinho must be sold. Barcelona cannot waste another window. So now moving on to the next topic, which is about Marc-Andre Ter Stegen. According to Goal, they said Barcelona are unable to meet Ter Stegen's demands as goalkeeper. He seeks to sit behind Lionel Messi on wage scale. Barcelona are keen to tie the German to a new deal as he is considered to top performer, but discussions have reached deadlock and are being shelved until the summer. Now, we know that Marc-Andre Ter Stegen is negotiating with FC Barcelona at the moment. They do want to extend his deal, and Barcelona is aware on just how important Marc-Andre Ter Stegen is to the club. But if we really read this report, right, like I have it right here, and we look at that first sentence, Barcelona are unable to meet Marc-Andre Ter Stegen's demands as goalkeeper. He seeks to sit behind Lionel Messi on wage scale. Now, just to give you guys a little bit of more context, Messi makes about 500 million a week tweak with the club. Now, do you really think that Marc-Andre Ter Stegen is going up to FC Barcelona and he's saying, look, I want to be right behind Messi when it comes to wages? Like, do you really think that Marc-Andre Ter Stegen would ask for those numbers? And so the point that I'm trying to make is that this report is completely false. Like, sure, there could be holds on these negotiations when it comes to like maybe benefits. Maybe Marc-Andre Ter Stegen just wants to tweak something in the contract, but never tell Barcelona and say, hey, I want to be paid almost as much as Lionel Messi. Marc-Andre Ter Stegen has a great relationship with the club. Everybody knows that Marc-Andre Ter Stegen will never act in that way against the club. He will never put Barcelona on the wall and say, pay me this amount of money if you want to keep me. Marc-Andre Ter Stegen is looking to stay at the club, and it has never been about money. He has stated in multiple interviews that he loves the club. He wants to stay. He wants these negotiations to be as easy as possible. And again, I just don't see Marc-Andre Ter Stegen demanding that amount of money, especially when it comes to a goalkeeper. Now moving on to the next topic, which is about Ivan Rakitic. According to Sport, Rakitic doesn't want to leave, but if he really has to, then the Croatian midfielder wants to return to Sevilla, even if he would earn less money there. Now, as we move closer to the summer, the more likely it looks for Ivan Rakitic to move out from FC Barcelona. And when I read this report, right, it does make me a little bit sad because it does look like Ivan Rakitic does want to stay at FC Barcelona, but at this point, it looks like the fans, the players, the staff, the coaches, the president all want Ivan Rakitic out. And Ivan Rakitic is in a situation where there's this saying that goes by, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain. So there are more reasons to sell Ivan Rakitic at this point than there are to keep Ivan Rakitic. Barcelona wants to move on. They need that extra cash. We want to upgrade our midfield. We need better players if we want to compete at the highest level. And so again, I wish Ivan Rakitic the best. I hope that he does succeed in whatever club he goes to in the summer. And he has had a very tough season this season because in the first half of the season under Valverde, he was not used at all. I believe that he only started one game and played a total of 60 minutes within a span of 6 to 7 games. So he hasn't been used a lot in the first half. And then in the second half of the season, he had to readjust under Quique Setién. And then unfortunately, the league has been postponed because of multiple reasons on what's going on around the world. So it hasn't been an easy season for Ivan Rakitic. And I just hope that wherever he goes, if he goes back to Sevilla, I hope that he does succeed with that club. So that is it for today's Barcelona Daily News. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.